Hi, everybody. This is Katie Abram with Americans for Prosperity in Pennsylvania. I want to thank you all for joining us today. And we have a wonderful organization that we asked to join with us to help you guys basically, well, like the title said, amplify your message with social media. So with that, I'd like to introduce Sarah Marie Brenner, who's a Strategic Outreach Manager with Watchdog Wire and the Franklin Center. And thank you so much, Sarah Marie, for joining us today. We appreciate everything you're going to be doing.
Oh, absolutely. It's great to be here, and thank you for doing this. This hopefully will help some of your people in Pennsylvania, too, to really learn how to do what the title says and amplify their message. So I'm looking forward to it. And as we go through this today, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the little chat section on your control panel. That's the best place to add those today. And then depending on whether it's something that we need to stop for or, get to at the end, then we'll go ahead and make sure those are answered. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you so that we can get started. You should now be able to see my screen. You should see a title slide that says Amplifying Your Message with Social Media. So to get us underway today, I just want to let those of you know, if you are not familiar with the Franklin Center or you're not familiar with Watchdog Wire, we have great partners with Americans for Prosperity Pennsylvania. They're a very strong partner with us, and if you want to take a look at what we do, you can visit franklincenterhq.org, and then the team that I work with is watchdogwire.com, and we are the citizen journalist side of the Franklin Center. So I hope that you'll have an opportunity to take a look. I'm going to be going back and forth today in between this PowerPoint presentation that I'm showing you and Facebook and Twitter and some of the other platforms so that I can really show you what I'm talking about. So you'll see some screen changes going on, and I don't want that to worry you as you're looking at it. So let's take a quick look here at what all we're going to cover today. We're going to go through really the whys and the whos, especially if you're new to social media, or maybe you're someone who thinks, oh, well, it's just a place where I really look at pretty pictures of my best friend's children or whatever it may be. There's so much more that you can do with it. So we want to talk about the why and the who and how to reach people online. And it also doesn't have to be something where you take hours and hours and hours a day to be social. You can make time to be social on social media without it taking a whole lot of your time. So we're going to talk about that as well. And the two major platforms, of course, are Facebook and Twitter. We're going to talk about those two in a little more depth. But then I'm also going to let you know about some other platforms. And then we have an event coming up in March at the end of the month in Newtown, and so we want to make sure that you know about that and also how to participate with Katie and her Twitter brigade, because I know that's important. And then we'll either do Q&A at the end, or as we go here through it, we'll just play it by ear and see what kind of questions we have. So please don't hesitate to type your questions in that chat screen, and I will take a look at them. So first, let's get started with why you should be on social media. If you're not convinced yet that you should be using it for whatever message it is that you're trying to get out, let's first talk about why you should be on it. One of the things about social media, of course, is that you can reach anyone. You don't have the typical kinds of limitations that you do by joining a Rotary in your area, which is also, of course, great. Joining a Chamber of Commerce, joining any local organization, it's much, much different because you have a literally global reach. So you can reach all kinds of people, any age, any kind of interest, and pretty much anywhere. And of course, we've even seen that you can reach people in countries where the internet is restricted. If you look at things like Iran, other situations like that where news stories are driven by people utilizing Twitter and Facebook, it has a lot of power even in countries that we might refer to as dark. It still can have some impact there. And then the exponential aspects of this start to get into the fact that you can reach your friends' networks and their networks, and so on. So you really have an opportunity to connect through those networking channels. And so then through that, you can get to one-on-one influence through direct contact and engagement. So if you want to be able to get to a friend's friend of a friend, then you can do that with social media. Excuse me. So let's just take a quick look here. Okay, now first, when you look at this, I'm sorry, I have a bug in my throat. Great timing. First, when you look at this, this is the Obama hashtag. And if you ask yourself, what's a hashtag? We're going to get to that here in a moment. But basically for right now, just think of an Obama hashtag as a category. Okay, so again, let's go ahead and delve back into our presentation. And I apologize that we had a problem there with that aspect of it. Okay, so let's go ahead and get back to this prove it part and explain what we were looking at with this particular report. Okay, so this is a report that shows you how the Obama hashtag, which you can think of, as I mentioned, as a category, how that translates into reach, how many people you are able to actually get to on social media. So I just wanted to show this to you as an example so that you can see what all is possible, because it really is pretty amazing, I think. So when you look at this and you look at these examples, this is taking, and I did this about 13 hours ago, I did this last night. This is taking the last 50 tweets using the Obama hashtag. 50 tweets. So I want you to keep that number in mind as well. So if you used the Obama hashtag within those 50 tweets, then you were able to reach 93,609 people. That's that exponential reach that I was just telling you about. And if you are someone who is a retweeter or you're mentioning people, replying, that's what this exposure impressions part is. So it made 108,685 impressions. And if you look down here again, just to reiterate, that was with 50 tweets. That's how many people you reached. That means that's how many people saw that tweet in their timeline. That's how many people saw the Obama hashtag in their timeline on Twitter, which is like your stream. And then this tweet reach, for those of you who maybe enjoy a little bit more technology, you're able to look at a lot more in here that we're not going to have time for today. But what I really wanted to emphasize for you was just the opportunity that you have to be able to reach a large volume of people by using Twitter especially. And the same things then happen too with Facebook and with other social media. So we're going to talk about those various options today as well, because you really have a lot of chances to do a lot of cool things. And of course, the big question that I always get asked is, well, gee, if I'm 60 or 65, there's absolutely no way that I can figure out social media, even if I'm in my 50s, or if I'm older than that, or I'm in my 40s and I just don't like social media, or I don't like technology. It doesn't matter. It's not just for young people. And if you look on Facebook, the fastest growing age range on Facebook right now is 50 plus. So if you're over 50, you've got a lot of other people who are tackling it with you. It's not just for young people. And the average age of a Twitter user is mid-40s. And then you have all kinds of groups, businesses, organizations, campaigns using social media to connect and engage. And especially if you look at the 2012 elections, this is something that Obama's campaign was really great at, and Romney's campaign was not so great at, was utilizing social media to get the message out and to connect with people, not just to talk to them, but to actually connect and engage with them. And that's a big difference there that sometimes people tend to miss. And then, of course, you can have nonprofits, political campaigns, cities, states, people, celebrities, whomever, really having a lot of great success using social media. When you reach people online, one of the coolest things I think is when you can take that online communication and transition it over to on-land communication and engagement. Those two things have to really augment one another. If you're just talking with people online, that's all wonderful. But you have to also augment that with on-land communication. So what that might mean is, if you are part of the AFP Twitter Brigade and you're tweeting out about an event that Katie is telling you about or that someone else is telling you about, then that's an opportunity for you to convert people into on-land engagement, right? Because that actually means they have to physically go somewhere. So that's where engagement can happen, so that you can say, hey, you know, you and I have been tweeting for 2 years now. We live 30 minutes apart. Why don't you go to this AFP PA event that's coming up in a couple of weeks? I'm going to be there. Katie Abrams is going to be there. All these great people are going to be there. Why don't you and I meet there and, you know, let's meet face to face. That's where that engagement and that conversion of going into on-land communication really is important, because then that's where you take your relationship to the next level. There's a lot that you can do, of course, online, and that includes even getting people to vote for the candidate who you're supporting. But there are other things that can be done on land, and that's important too. And I kind of have already said this next point. Just tweeting and posting material won't earn you strong connections. You really have to engage. So it's replying to people, following and friending people with common interests, retweeting and sharing other people's materials, and then really being friendly about it so that you can build those relationships. This is a big one, and I often get asked, because I usually have a pretty busy timeline on Twitter, which is my preference for social media, how in the world do you do this and spend so much time every day? And I always respond and tell people, because I don't spend so much time every day. This is a schedule that I recommend. You don't have to stick to it, of course, but this is kind of what I do. And I think it proves to be pretty efficient and really make sure that you're able to still interact on social media, but not be on it all day long. So the first thing in the morning, there are a lot of people, the first thing they do when they get up, they get out of bed, they pick their cell phone up off the charger, they turn their cell phone on, and what's one of the first things they open? Either Facebook or Twitter. For me, it's Twitter. So as I'm drinking my coffee in the morning or whatever it may be, I'm standing in the kitchen tweeting. Those are one of the very first things I do in the morning. And so between 5 and 7 a.m. is a great time in the morning to spend about 20 minutes. And then early afternoon, for some reason, when people get back from lunch, you know, we're all kind of in those afternoon doldrums, and people start getting online. 2 p.m., according to a lot of statistics, seems to be the most active time on Twitter. So you might want to spend another 20 minutes or so there. And then in the evening is another time where I'll spend 20 minutes and sometimes even more, especially if there's an event going on that maybe I'm live tweeting, which means you're tweeting about something as something's going on in real time. So in the evening, I'll maybe spend 20 minutes, but I mean, if it's a real relaxing evening and my husband and I are just at home and we're watching television for an hour or two, I might be on for a little longer, but 20 minutes again in the evening is another good time, and that's another time when a lot of people are on because they're doing the same thing too. They're relaxing, kids are in bed if you have kids, and so you're taking some time to just kind of look at your Facebook and Twitter. So that's my recommendation, and that's the way you can do it really in an hour a day, spaced out throughout the day. And even if you can't do that, pick one of these time frames every day and spend 20 minutes on social media. If 20 minutes is all that you can handle, pick one of those 3 time frames and just stay on there for about 20 minutes and then get off. So let's take a look at some of the platforms, because that's something else that sometimes people get confused about. Are all these different platforms that are out there? When do you use what? What's the whole objective? Why do you need different things? So let's take a look at that too. So we all know what the 2 most popular ones are, right? And of course, they are Facebook and Twitter. So let's talk about why you'd use one over the other. If you are on Facebook, or the reason rather that you would use Facebook If you know that someone's going to accept your friend request, you might use Facebook. What I mean by that is if you go into Facebook and you friend someone, they have to accept your friend request, right? On Twitter, if you look over to the right, when you don't know someone, you can follow them anyway. Facebook doesn't allow you to do that. So if you know the person and you know they're going to accept your friend request, or maybe you're also sending them a message within Facebook saying, you know, hey, I don't know you personally, but here's why I'm friending you. I'd really appreciate your accepting my friend request. Then you can use Facebook for that. Otherwise, Twitter is a great way to just start following them casually and then maybe transition it over to a Facebook friend because they actually have to accept it. And then the next bullet point on both sides there is looking at the different types of events. Facebook tends to be a lot more local. So if you're looking at your city, your township, whatever it may be, you seem to be able to have more impact on Facebook locally. Why is that? Well, because as the platform explains, with Facebook, people have to know you. Who are you usually going to know? The people who live in your area, right? So Facebook usually tends to be a little bit better for local and state types of things going on. And sometimes even state can be too large. It might be city and township and county. If you live in a really vast county, maybe even just city and township. So Facebook tends to be more local because you're mainly interacting with people who have accepted that friend request because they know you. Twitter, on the other hand, is wonderful for breaking news, national and international, because you don't have to know people to connect, to share, to read, to retweet, to comment, to engage. So it can be international, just like the example I gave at the beginning with Iran, similar type of situation. And then, of course, also with Facebook, you can ask in-depth questions requiring longer answers and back and forth. But then on Twitter, you can't really do that quite as well, but you can meet a lot of new people. And part of how you do that is by including handles in tweets. So I want to go ahead and take a second and take us to Twitter, just so you can see what I mean by that, because I know that sometimes that concept of Twitter handles versus Twitter hashtags can get kind of confusing. So this is my Twitter page. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so you can see it more easily. And as you look on, now this is called my timeline. Here's an example of someone who has done a really good job of using other handles in their tweet. So this person's doing a really good job of meeting other people because by using their handle, they're then able to connect to that person. This is called a handle. It's the @ whomever. So that's the person, it's almost like an email address, but we call it their handle. And then a hashtag is like if you go over here, all these things that start with pound. So stands with Rand, that's a hashtag. I can honestly say that's a hashtag. So this pound is called a hashtag. The @ is called a handle. So when you include multiple handles like this, you're meeting new people and you're also helping to connect other people to new people, which, believe it or not, is a big part of Twitter. When you become that person who helps to connect other people, then you've become a hub of information, and people really value that. Okay, and we're going to get to a little bit more about hashtags in just a moment. So we'll get to those details and explain the question that just arose. So let's talk a little bit about Facebook for a moment and just focus on Facebook. If you add people to your posts when you're on Facebook by tagging them, that helps them to see. So if you're writing about, and I'm going to keep using Katie today since they're our great partners for this webinar, if you're writing something that you think would really interest Americans for Prosperity Pennsylvania, then you might want to tag Katie or Americans for Prosperity PA in your Facebook post. And You want to be careful, though. You want to use this kind of selectively so that you don't annoy the person by doing it constantly. So let's go to my Facebook here, and I'll just show you what I mean. So if I'm in Facebook and I'm going to write something that's my status, this is my status for today. And what I'm saying is hit @ and then just start typing. So like I'm going to start typing Katie. Oh, and look here, she came up. So I'm going to select her. And you'll see now she appears in that blue box, so that means that she's going to be tagged. And then when I hit post, which I'm not going to do, but when I hit post, then Katie gets a little alert in her Facebook that she's been tagged. And then she has to come and look at that to either approve it or not, depending on how she has her settings set up. She may have it set so that things where she's tagged automatically post to her timeline. That's something that you can select in privacy settings, and we're going to talk about privacy settings as well here in a moment. So let's say then that I'm also saying something that I think is really important for Americans for Prosperity. You can do the exact same thing with them. So see, I used the @ started typing their name, and then look here, I'm getting everything that deals with Americans, and here's Americans for Prosperity, Pennsylvania, and then, you know, if I wanted to include the normal Americans for Prosperity, anything else is in here, you can kind of pick and choose. So if I select them, they're going to get tagged as well, and then whoever is managing that page will also get a notification that you've tagged them. So that's a really good way to make sure that people see what you are saying, if there are things that you're saying that you indeed want them to see. Something else that's really helpful, if you're doing this for the very first time, especially if it's someone who you're not friends with, because you don't actually have to be friends with someone in order to tag them, it's a good idea to just send a message to them, a Facebook message, just really quickly saying, hey, I just tagged you in whatever. Here's one sentence, not a diatribe, but here's one sentence explaining why. Thanks so much, yours truly, whomever. That just helps because especially with Facebook's newer rules, that if someone marks you as spam, you can get blocked out of being able to friend people, you can get blocked out of being able to post messages, you can get blocked out of being able to send direct messages. There are all kinds of things. So it's really good to just kind of take that extra step if you're including someone you don't know and just send them that quick little note so that they're aware. It's just a good idea so that you are comfortable with that and can make sure that everybody is connecting and no one's going to mark you as spam and then have you be blocked. Another really good, helpful thing is to go to other groups and post on their wall. And not all groups will have their wall open where you can do that. But let's just go ahead and take a look at Americans for Prosperity, Pennsylvania. And when you go to their page, you'll see they don't have this where you're able to do that. So what that means is you can tag it on your own page, just like I explained, so that you can have that opportunity. So let's take a look instead at Watchdog Wire. Once this lets me scroll down, bear with me just a moment. Okay, and you'll see on Watchdog Wire here, you can write something. So if there's something that you want to be able to say, or maybe there's a link that you want to share, and again, you don't want to overuse this. You shouldn't be overwhelming someone's timeline. But if there's a message that you think really pertains to another certain group, go to their Facebook wall and see if they will allow you to post it there. Sometimes pages have that open, sometimes pages have that closed. And it kind of depends. If they've had a lot of people spamming them, or if they've had a lot of people who've posted inappropriate things, then sometimes people will shut that mechanism off. So it's not because they don't want you to engage, it's because they've probably had a bad experience in the past. And so they just decided to shut that option down, which is perfectly fine. So this is a good place where you can do that. If you don't have this opportunity, then like I said, when you're on your own Facebook wall, just tag them. in that post, like I just showed you with Americans for Prosperity PA even. And then through that tagging, they'll see that and they can decide whether it goes on their timeline. Sometimes even getting it on their timeline isn't your objective. Your objective might just be for the organization itself to see what you're saying. You can also create a list for different interests. This is an option that you have on Facebook when you are dealing with certain people. So let's say again that we're looking at Katie, and maybe I want to add her to a certain interest list. So if you want to add someone to an interest list, you can keep your interests connected this way. So maybe you have someone who is in a certain state and you want to do it by that, or by issues that concern them, or however you want to go about it, you can add them to certain interest lists, so that then when you have things to share, you can real quickly go back to your interest list and say, okay, well, who's on my citizen journalism interest list, and share that story then about new media journalism or whatever it may be with people on that interest list. That will help you amplify your message as well, because then you're connecting it to the right person really quickly and easily, because you've just taken that extra 5 seconds as you've friended people to put them on the right list. So that's something that's really helpful as well. Join groups and like pages. When you're in Facebook, you'll see options to join certain groups where there's discussion going on. You can add your own links there. So join groups that are applicable, add your links, and then of course also like pages. Sometimes pages will allow people who have liked to post. It just kind of depends on how they've done it. So that's a good way to do it as well. And then this is really important, I think. You have to engage. You have to give on Facebook to receive on Facebook. So don't expect a lot of shares and likes if all you ever do is post your own material. If you post a lot of your own material, but you're engaging with people, you're sharing things that they put up, maybe somebody puts up a cute picture or a cute saying or whatever, and so you decide to share it, those are all really wonderful opportunities and ways that you can connect them as well. And those engagements kind of all build you good Facebook karma, so that when it comes back to a time when you need someone else to help you out, they'll be more willing and more interested. And then this is a Facebook page that I think is kind of interesting, and they don't overdo it, but if you want just some Facebook tips, Facebook has a page called Facebook Tips, and you can take a look at this. They don't post something every single day, but they do have some kind of unique things on here that maybe you otherwise wouldn't think of, and you can utilize some of these tips, join the conversation. You can see there are a lot of people involved in this, several 100,000 people who are liking it, and a lot of people talking about it. So if you have thoughts, if you have questions, if you want to see, oh, I wonder what other things I'm maybe not even thinking about, just go to this Facebook Tips page. It's a great opportunity to get some new ideas. Now, I'm going to allow you to enjoy this video on your own time, but I hope that you'll take a moment and just maybe spend the 4.5 minutes that it takes to watch that cute little YouTube video, and you'll get a very good example of what not to do on Facebook. I'm not going to take the 4.5 minutes in our presentation today because I know you're all very busy. Just remember, what you put on Facebook, others can see unless you properly set your privacy settings. This is something that Facebook really gets dinged for a lot. However, I do think that a lot of times it's more user error because people don't take the time to actually set their settings on Facebook. So I want to just show you for a moment how to do this, because even though this may de-amplify your message on social media, it will help you feel more comfortable amplifying your message, because you'll know that it's getting to the person or to the people to whom you want it to be amplified. So you click on this little wheel in the top right of your Facebook and come down here to privacy settings, and this is where everything is. You want to take time and sit here and really go through this. Don't do it quickly. Take some time and really think through how you want these set. Now, I'm not going to go through all these settings with you. If you have questions, you're welcome to email me at info@watchdogwire.com, and I can help answer your questions, or a member of our team can. I'm not going to go through all these specifically right now, but I just wanted to point out for you where these settings are, so that on your own time you can make sure that you take a look at them, because they are important. And they'll just help you feel more comfortable as you are sharing on Facebook, that you know that the right people are seeing your material. Now, if you are a Citizen Watchdog journalist, which is the Citizen Watchdog site, is the site of the Franklin Center team that I work with, then that means you're doing one of a number of things, or several of a number of things. You might be contributing to our site or to another site, actually writing stories. You might just be filing public records requests and then forwarding that information on. You might be using your smartphone when you go to something at your state house and taking that video and posting it on YouTube unedited, so that people actually see what really happened instead of the edited version. There are a number of ways that you can be a citizen watchdog, but you can also really use social media to be a citizen watchdog. One of the first things that you really should take some time to do is like or follow on Facebook or Twitter, and then also engage with your city, township, county, and state pages. Go through and find those, start paying attention to them, start paying attention to meetings, start paying attention to what they say. Sometimes you'll see some really wacky tweets and pages and posts, rather, that come out of those that will be things that you're really going to want to take some time to look at. Your local politicians, the lead bureaucrats in your area, your legacy or mainstream media in your area. And then, of course, all of the sites that we have, feel free to follow those between Watchdog Wire and Franklin Center and AFP, so that you can be up to date on what's going on. Let's talk for a couple moments, too, about Twitter. If you reference someone in a tweet, for example, say that yesterday you were talking about the filibuster and you wanted to actually talk about Rand Paul, it would be best to add @Sen Rand Paul, which happens to be his handle, to your tweets if you reference them. That way, people who are following his handle, his timeline, will see your tweet, and also he or a member of his staff will see your tweet. So you're getting that message out further. So that's one example. And then also include a handle or two of people you believe would be interested in whatever you're sharing or saying. So if you're sharing something that is specifically about Newt Gingrich's presentation at CPAC next week, then as you're talking about it, make sure that you include Newt Gingrich's handle, CPAC hashtag, which we'll talk about here in a moment, CPAC handle, anything that has to do with what you're talking about, so that those people also see it. That's really a good way to amplify, because then you're getting your message to more people. When you reply to someone on Twitter, you need to put a period in front of the @ symbol. This way, the tweet actually appears on their timeline for others to see, and not just in their mentions. And you can see my little example there. And you can see the period in front of the @. That takes it, Twitter reads that then, instead of being a reply where it only shows up in their mentions, Twitter takes it and sees it as a new tweet, which then shows up in their timeline, which then means that more people see it, so you're amplifying your message better that way. You also want to try to stay under 120 characters. I know Twitter takes 140, but when someone retweets you, you have to leave room for RT and your handle. Otherwise, your tweet's going to cut off. So if you have a 3-character handle, then you can probably go to 134 characters, because you have to have the R and the T and a space, and then be fine. But most of us have handles that are a little longer than that. So that's why a good rule of thumb is 120 characters. So it's easy to retweet you. Make sure when you're in Twitter that you check your mentions. You don't just want to look at your timeline. So if you're in Twitter, if you like to use twitter.com, it's this connect button. So these are the people who are actually tweeting to you, and that's what you want to make sure then that you are looking at and connecting with those people and responding to those people. And then hashtags. So let's go ahead and talk about hashtags. I know this was a question too that someone put in the chat screen here. Hashtags, you want to kind of think of categories when you think of hashtags. So if you want to be able to find everybody who's tweeting that day about any particular topic, maybe you want to find people who are, we just showed you in Twitter, Stand with Rand is one of the hashtags that is trending today. So let's say that you are in Twitter and you want to look at everybody who's tweeting with that hashtag. You can pull it up and see everybody who's tweeting with that hashtag. What does that mean for you? Why does that matter? Well, what it means is if that's the hashtag that you're particularly interested in that deals with your subject matter, then you want to make sure that you include that hashtag in your own tweet so that all of those people see your tweet. But then it also means that you want to take the time to go look at that hashtag and engage one-on-one with those people, because those are people who are like-minded, just like you, who will become followers, who will help retweet you, who will help amplify your message to their network and their network's network. So you're starting, I hope, to see the exponential value with the hashtags versus handles and how you can use both of those to amplify your message. We don't have time to get into hashtags really detailed, but hopefully that helps you out. So let's look at just a couple more tips. Try a platform that allows you to manage multiple social media accounts. I know a couple weeks ago, Katie actually did one on TweetDeck, and that's a really great platform to try. My personal favorite is Hootsuite, and I mean, everybody's different and has different likes and interests, so there's not one that's right or wrong, but this is my Hootsuite. I have a lot of different things going on in here, and I also help with our Watchdog Wire Twitter account, and so, there's just a lot in here going on, and I can manage it all in one place with these different columns. If you're really interested in Hootsuite, then perhaps that's something that we can help with down the road. I don't have time to delve into it a lot today. The basics of it, if you're just putting your own Facebook account, your own Twitter account in there, it's free. You also want to learn to use the Facebook Messages feature and the Twitter Direct Messages feature. These are both features that are basically private messages or private emails. So since I still have Katie up, if I wanted to send Katie a message, this basically is just like an email, and it is private just between the two of us. It doesn't show up on her timeline or on my timeline or on our walls. And Facebook will notify you that you have these up here. So as you can see right now, I have 2 that I need to check, and that's where you can read those. And then Twitter, when you're in the actual Twitter feature page here, I think it's kind of hard to use, just the way that this functions. But if you click this wheel and click on direct messages, and I'm not going to pull it up because I have some people who have DM'd me a lot of private information that I don't want on the screen. So if you click on direct messages there, then it works in a very similar to way that the Facebook messages work. So you're able to see their private message system. You still on Twitter, you have to keep your DMs, as they're called, you have to keep your DMs under 140 characters, just like you do your tweets. But you want to make sure you check your DMs once a day or so, because you'll have people who send you direct messages. This is important too. You don't want to get overwhelmed. Don't feel like you have to read every message or tweet on your timeline if it doesn't include you. Focus on your mentions first, your hashtags that are of importance to you, and engaging on those. Then when you're done, if you have more time, Go back to your timeline, start reading it, and, play with that. If you have a lot of people you follow, like I do, I have over 12,000 people I follow, there's no way that you can look at all of those every single day. It's just not possible. So you want to focus on your mentions, the hashtags that really matter to you, and engaging with those people. And the last one here, learn to use your smartphone. My personal favorite Twitter app is called Tweetbot, Tweetbot. That's my favorite Twitter app. The Twitter app itself has gotten a lot better over the last few months. They've done a lot of updates, but it still has a number of things you cannot do very well in it. So my personal favorite is Tweetbot. But learn to use your smartphone for Twitter and for Facebook, and even for other things like LinkedIn or Reddit, other social media platforms like that. Learn to use that smartphone. And even for the Citizen Watchdog standpoint, learn to use it to take pictures of documents, to videotape meetings where you're going, to use it for audio recording if you're interviewing someone. And we actually on our watchdogwire.com site have several columns that we have there with journalism tips that give you tips on how to use your phone, what apps are best for you, good citizen journalism tips. So if that's something that interests you as well, then you can take a look at those things. And those are things even that can be of benefit to ASPPA. So good ways to help amplify things there. If you are sending original material, like your own blog post, post it out 3 times, spaced out throughout the day. And again, if you target those 3 time frames, those are good time frames. But people aren't on Twitter all day. So if you put it at 6 a.m. in the morning, and then you're checking Twitter at 11 o'clock at night, it's going to be, there's been so much that's happened in that time frame. Probably hardly anybody's going to see your 6 a.m. tweet again. So if you send it at like 6 a.m., 2 p.m., and then 10 p.m., people will see it in those different time frames, and they're more likely then to see your tweet. And you might even want to kind of change up your verbiage each time. One of the reasons why I like to use Hootsuite is because then I can just schedule it. You can actually schedule tweets to go out. Now, on Facebook, you want to include pictures whenever it's possible. On Twitter, don't be a blank egg. By blank, I mean make sure that you fill in your bio. When you are on the Twitter site, the profile here that you can see, you want to make sure that you have filled out this bio section. And if you look at my profile, you'll see I have my bio filled out. I still have my picture from Friday of Andrew Breitbart up in the background. But you want to make sure you fill out your bio, and you don't want this bio picture to remain that blank egg. And I don't even know, on my timeline, I don't have very many people who have them. I think most of my friends have pictures, so I'm probably not going to see one here real quickly, but I think you all know what I'm talking about, that blank egg where you can pick the color of egg you want when you first sign up. Not good. It tells people that you don't use Twitter very much and that you're not really knowing what's going on. So those are 2 things you want to do. Make sure you change, that's called your avatar, that headshot. Make sure you change your avatar to be something. It's really best if it's you, not your dog, not your house, not your favorite flower. It's really best if it's you. If you're trying to stay anonymous on Twitter, then that's a little different. But it's really best if it's you, if it's your face, so people can see who it is that they're talking to. It just helps to build those relationships to be able to bring them on land a little bit easier. And then make sure that bio is filled in. Twitter gulag. This is one other thing that I wanted to talk about, because this is a problem that a lot of people experience on Twitter if you become really active on Twitter. Twitter gulag is the Twitter versus phrase for Twitter suspending your Twitter account, which they can do if your Twitter account gets what's called spam blocked too many times, which means someone reports you as spam and then blocks you. And you want to avoid that. One of the ways you can do it is by putting that period before the @ symbol. It's a long explanation of why that helps, but it does. Don't spam block other people unless you absolutely have to. It's okay if you want to block them, though. And once you're to about 3,000 followers that you have following you, the Twitter algorithm becomes such that it's really difficult for you to get suspended. So if you like to get into conversations with the other side of the political spectrum, whatever that may be for you, sometimes the other side can get a little upset and start spam blocking you. That's when you get suspended. So these are a couple of tips on how to help you not do that, because you can't amplify very easily if your Twitter account gets suspended. And then these are just some other platforms that you want to consider using and checking into. LinkedIn is one that is known for being more professional and about sharing professional resumes, but they do actually now have a lot of groups on LinkedIn. And I follow a lot that are ideologically based or party based or activism based, just from my personal standpoint. And so that's something that you can do on LinkedIn. I know it's kind of been taboo for people to feel like they can share that stuff on LinkedIn, but it's starting to progress kind of more toward that happy medium. Stumble Upon is another one where you can very easily share links and then Stumble Upon randomly, based on your preferences, randomly selects things for you to look at. So it's a good way, too, for you to find other things to read. Dig is another one. Reddit you may be familiar with if you ever follow the tactics that have been used by progressives in political campaigns. Reddit is one where those people kind of live. If they're part of that ideological viewpoint, they'll seem to kind of be involved in Reddit. So if you are of an opposing view, then it might be helpful for you to go there and engage and share your own links and information in a very nice way. So just something else to think about. That can be a good source. YouTube, you can subscribe to videos, you can comment on things, you can put your own videos up. And then Google+, especially if you're on Gmail. Gmail is your email address, and it links things very, very easily and seamlessly. So that's another one that you can consider. And as we come toward the end of this presentation, I just want to encourage you, if you are interested in a whole day's worth of training, there's a really great one coming up, and I'll be there as well doing some more with social media on March 23rd I believe that should be Newtown, Pennsylvania. And you can click on this link to find all the details about that event. And so I hope that you'll take a look and join us. It's only $10, and it includes your lunch and all of your materials. And if you take a look here, we already have a jam-packed day, a lot of things going on from the agenda, and a number of things that we'll be learning and talking about. So I hope that you'll direct your friends and neighbors, especially if you're in Pennsylvania, to this one on Saturday, March 23rd in Newtown from 9 to 5. And so with that, let me go ahead. I know we have a couple of questions here. I want to make sure that we get them answered. So one of the questions that we had, does starting your tweet with a hashtag affect anything? If you start your tweet with a hashtag, it's just fine. You don't need to put a period in front of it. Remember, the hashtag is a pound sign. Twitter only recognizes the @ symbol as a reply. So if you start it with a hashtag, then you're good. And Barb asked about Tea Party community, and yeah, I mean, I was really trying today to make sure that we stayed kind of, non-ideological when we're looking at various platforms. Tea Party community looks a lot like Facebook, and when you go to Tea Party community, you'll even see just the whole interface here looks a lot like Facebook. It's very, very similar. I haven't been on it much because I'm so swamped with some of the other platforms, but if you look at it here, it looks a lot like Facebook. That's really what it's very similar to. And you can see now Tea Party community has 116,671 members. So that's a lot. And you can host your own blog on Tea Party Community. You can set up pages. You can set up forums. You can do polls, petitions, quizzes, and then you can also do photos and events and games just like you can on Facebook. So I hope that answers Barb's question. Are there any other questions that I can answer for anyone? And if there are, please go right ahead and ask away, and I would love to answer it for you. Okay. Well, it looks like then that is everyone. Katie, do you have anything that you would like to add? Hopefully, if you're still there after we had our technical glitch.
Blame it on the left. The left did it. That's why we had technical difficulties. That's okay. Well, actually, is it possible, Sarah, to actually bring up my screen so other people can see it real quick?
Sure, I should be able to do that.
Because I just have a couple things that I have on here, my email address, our website, and also our Twitter handle for Americans for Prosperity. Usually it's better just to throw it up there so people can see it.
Sure. How is your name showing up? Which of these names should I give?
It should be Katie Abram, or it would be Rich Mislinski. And
okay.
If not a big deal.
And I'm not seeing either one of those.
Oh, how weird. Okay. Well, guys, if you need to get in touch with me, I'm going to give you my email address. My email address is K as in Katie, A, B as in brother, R, A, M as in Mary, at AF, P as in Paul, HQ.org. That's kabram at afphq.org. If you want to find more information about Americans for Prosperity, just visit our website, which is americansforprosperity.com/Pennsylvania. We have a number of different webinars that are going to be coming up. For those that may not even be on Twitter, we do a Twitter 101 webinar every single month where I walk you through how you actually sign up for Twitter, sending your first tweet, what a retweet is. We also do a TweetDeck webinar, and I probably should do a Hootsuite webinar as well if you want to take your tweeting to the next level in regards to learning how to schedule tweets and follow different columns of information. We're also going to be having Melissa Clothier, who, if you're on Twitter, she is at Melissa Tweets. She's a guru of social media, in March, April, and May, doing webinars with her as well. So if you want to find out more information about those webinars, again, just go to americansforprosperity.com/Pennsylvania, and we'll get you guys hooked up. One last thing before we hop off of here. In Pennsylvania, we have something called the Pennsylvania Twitter Brigade. Our hashtag is PATCOT. And what we've been doing is we've actually been putting pressure on our Pennsylvania state representatives and state senators and the governor as well via social media. And we've actually gotten some feedback from the Capitol saying that they know what we're doing. So if you're interested in joining the Pennsylvania Twitter Brigade, again, just email us at kabram@afphq.org, and I'd be happy to get you guys on this brigade. We have a couple hundred people that are conservatives in the state that are down for the cause, and what we do is we just send them tweets, just an email with some tweets in it that they can copy and paste into Twitter and send off, or that they can tweak and send off as well. So with that, Sarah Marie, thank you so much for doing this with us today. I actually learned some great things myself, so it's much appreciated.
Good. Well, I'm very glad. And if you want to check, for those of you who are on right now, I have put in the chat the link for Americans for Prosperity PA. I put Melissa's handle. She's great, especially if you're going to be at CPAC next week. You can run into her there. The hashtag for the Twitter Brigade, my hashtag, and then, or my handle, and then also I'll go ahead and put in Watchdog Wires for Franklin Center. So if anyone is interested in joining us on Twitter, feel free. Like I said, Twitter's my favorite, so that's where I live and spend most of my time. But feel free to connect with us there. And if you have any questions at all, you can email us at info@watchdogwire.com if you have social media questions, and we'd be more than happy to help you with those.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
And hopefully on March 23rd.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.